Stronger chess players master tactical patterns and therefore they can quickly see opportunities in their actual games. This is a quote from Garry Kasparov, and today you're about to learn the 7 main tactical motifs that you need to know. I'm Grandmaster Igor Smirnov, and let's go ahead and get started. Right now you can see on the screen the game between Tal playing white against Keres, another legendary player playing black. Black's last move, knight d3, is not really a sacrifice, it rather offers an exchange. White can capture this knight on d3 and black can do the same to the white knight on d4. However, Tal instead decided to use a really cool tactical motif known as Desperado, which means that if a piece is doomed to be captured, it may try to get something for its life and try to get it on their own terms. Therefore, Tal played knight c6, counterattacking the queen, saying, hey, if you wish to get this knight, you're going to need to waste some time doing so. However, his opponent Keres ironically utilized the very same Desperado tactical motif, and he said, hey, if my knight is going to be captured, let me get something for it. And he captured this pawn on f2, countering the white queen. Now white is in trouble. How about king takes f2? Well, it turns out that in this case, black can win thanks to the other tactical motif known as the double attack, and after that, black will get back the knight, while winning a pawn along the way and exposing the white king. So what can white do instead? Tal played queen to f3, maybe not wanting to expose his king. However, black reused the same idea once again and said, hey, my knight is going to be captured, let me get one more pawn for it. This is a check, and after the knight is captured, now queen b6 comes with the same double attack, and on the next move black grabs it, gaining 2 extra pawns and a winning position. This time it's black to play. How do you play here as black? Well, we can see that this queen is hanging as well as this queen. However, if you just go ahead and do the trade, that gives you no advantage. It's just a dead equal position. So how can you win? Let's take this back. If you know that your queen is about to be captured, you may as well get a bigger prize for it. Therefore, black can instead first grab the rook and only then get this queen on d4, and now black is up a rook. Here's a quick tactical warm-up for you. It is black to play, and there is also one more way to win the game besides queen takes c1. Please think about this, and if you can find another winning continuation for black, write it down in comments below. The second tactical motif generated more BM titles than probably anything else. In this position, it is white to move, and it's so tempting for white to just approach the king forward, hoping for the checkmate, but all of a sudden it's a stalemate because the black king has no squares to go to. Magnus Carlsen is playing black here against Fedosseev. It is black to play. He's got a number of winning opportunities. The quickest one was queen to h2, threatening this rook takes a2, and white is defenseless. They can deliver the single check, but king just runs away, and then white is totally defenseless. In the actual game, however, Carlsen played queen c2, probably expecting white to resign because it looks like white can't stop this checkmate. However, white played rook e7 and on the next move sacrificed the rook. What Carlsen overlooked is the fact that now the white king is stalemated and white can actually give up all of his pieces to force the stalemate. The third tactical motif is probably the most overlooked and at the same time the most powerful. Black has just pushed their pawn to f5, hitting their bishop. How do you play here as white? In such positions, most players just retreat their bishop to one square or the other pretty much automatically. Now, what's the problem with that move? Well, it's actually a losing blunder, and it's hard to believe that just a natural retreat from danger can be such a terrible mistake, and yet it is the case, because guess what's going to happen after that? Your opponent will keep coming, will keep attacking. Now the bishop needs to go again, now he's attacking the other one, he can bring the queen out somewhere there, roll all these pawns up, and white is in big trouble. Black's got this winning attack. What should you do in such cases? Well, actually what I would recommend is in every position, you're gonna be on the lookout for attacking moves. Those moves on your opponent's side of the board which create threats. And that includes situations when you are attacked, because in that case, that would just turn it into a counterattack. And white does have a counterattacking move, which is pawn takes c5. And this time, yes, they're hitting our bishop, but we're hitting theirs. And therefore, if they're willing to trade, good, we'll be up on 2-roll. If they recapture this pawn, now the bishop may finally move out, but then black does not have those furious central pawns which can go forward. By the way, if they go forward, what do you do here? Just think about this for a second. Again, it's so important because if you just retreat back and your opponent keeps attacking, you can easily get checkmated pretty quickly. So again, you need to counterattack. Offense is the best defense, and counterattack really can save the day for white. For instance, bishop c5 right here, and now black needs to do something and white has time to effectively defend. By the way, it's one of my favorite subjects, rules of thinking, not just tactical motifs, but exactly how you should think in order to find those moves in your actual games. If you wish to know my complete system, head to my free masterclass. I'll drop a link below the video and you can check it out later. It is black to play. Tal is playing white against Keres. Now, black is up a piece, however, this extra piece is pinned and attacked. So how do you get out of this? Now, the solution is the same. You don't defend. You ask yourself, how can I go forward and attack? With that in mind, black actually has got not just one, but two ways out. One of them is bishop d6, counter-attacking this pawn, and the other one is the one played in the game, bishop g5, hitting this queen on e3. Tal played pawn f4 this time, trying to double attack these pieces, but now after queen takes d5 and pawn takes bishop, can you find the winning shot for black? It's queen to d1. Same logic, go forward, create threats and counter threats. And after the trade, this is actually a back rank checkmate. White can stall it for one move, but then it is still a checkmate. The next tactical motif is the most classical one, a pin. It is when an attacked piece cannot move out of danger without exposing a more valuable piece that stands behind. It is white to play here, and at first it looks like black is about to win the game, as pretty much all of white's pieces are attacked, plus black has the strong passer. However, white can turn things around with a beautiful sacrifice. Queen takes f7, sacrificing the queen, which forces this checkmate due to the pin on the rook, and because of the pin, the rook can't go back and guard the king. Carlsen was playing white here against Karjakin, and it is white to move. White played here, bishop takes h6, making use of this pin. To this, Karjakin responded with knight takes c2, seeking some counterplay, but Carlsen used the same tactical motif once again with knight to e5. This time, the pawn is pinned down to the queen, and it's funny how white totally ignores black's defenders. Nevertheless, black decided to give up a queen, and after the trade, rook takes f7, Carlsen keeps attacking, queen g6, the bishop runs away, now bishop g5 creates this checkmating threat, and after black tried to somehow escape, rook h7, Carlsen finishes the game off with yet another pinned bishop f6. Now the pawn is pinned, and otherwise white will capture on g7 with one of the pieces and win. Now when we know the power of a pin, we can appreciate the next tactical motif known as legal's checkmate. It is when you ignore the pin, this knight is getting sick and tired of being tamed, it wants to fight back, and it plays knight takes c5, exposing the queen, but after that you go ahead and all of a sudden deliver this checkmating attack against his king. This pattern is actually a lot more common and occurs through different chess openings. For instance, here in the Scandinavian defense, black often goes bishop g4, hoping to pin this knight. However, white can go knight e5, exposing the queen. We're also hitting the bishop, we're also hitting this pawn, and if the queen is captured, that fails to bishop takes f7, checkmate. In one of the games, black, instead of capturing, noticed the threat, tried to play bishop to h5 to keep guarding the pawn, as well as to get the bishop out of danger. However, white pushed the same tactical motif with queen takes h5 sacrifice, forcing the very same checkmate. The next game started off differently, and now we can see some random opening moves, but as soon as your opponent plays this bishop g4 pinning your knight, you should always have this idea in mind that potentially there is this legal checkmate idea. But you gotta be careful, don't take on e5 straight away, as in that case black can recapture and guard this bishop. In this case, your idea just fails. Instead, white played h3 first, kicking the bishop out, and after that, knight takes e5 does work indeed. Now this bishop on h5 is also hanging, so they both attack each other, but after bishop takes d1, it fails to same bishop takes f7 checkmating attack. But in this case, the chase is a lot more interesting. White keeps checking black, forcing the king all the way out, and now rook takes d1. Now the king is centralized and is about to be checkmated. However, black also needs to guard the queen, and also it's unclear what to do about this king anyway. Black played bishop e7, and now white wins with the bomb cloud, king e2, and on the next move, c3, checkmates black. The next tactics is something that we all love. It's called a fork. It's when you attack multiple opponent's pieces at once and he can't counter every threat. How do you play here as white? It might feel tempting to grab the rook straight away, but in this case black would recapture and white does not achieve anything special. It's a lot stronger to first deflect the rook by playing queen takes h7, and after black recaptures, this time this rook is defend it and white can capture it, playing literally one of the strongest moves ever. You snatch a rook and fork his king and queen. This pony really deserves a promotion, and on the next move white gets a winning material advantage. In this position, the white player remembered hearing something about the knight on the rim and decided to just put the knight right there, which turned out to be a brilliant move, because on the next turn, white can go knight b5, threatening this deadly triple fork to black's all most valuable pieces. Now black tried to cover the square, but now white can just play pawn d5, hitting the knight. And we're still capitalizing on the very same motif. If black tries capturing this pawn, that would fail to this fork. Therefore, instead, black needs to move this knight away, but then white can play bishop f4, reinforcing the threat, and black is done. If they ever try to capture it with the knight, white can just revert the moves and first sack the queen, then pushing the same fork, and on the next move he's getting back a piece, winning material, the king is exposed, and white is winning. The next tactic is involved in a great quantity of different opening traps. For instance, right here, black is trying to attack all these pawns, and if white tries to hold on to their extra material, that would be a deadly mistake, because after queen to f6, we're getting to a trapped piece, a piece that has no squares to escape, and therefore your opponent suffers material loss. In the main line of the Karjakin defense, there is an interesting move pawn to h4, and if black just continues with their plan pawn e6, all of a sudden the bishop is trapped within a couple of moves, and white should win. The legendary example of a trapped piece occurred in the game of Fischer playing white against Yershevsky, at the time the other strongest American chess player, and Fischer all of a sudden played bishop takes f7, sacrificing a bishop. After king takes, he then sacrificed a knight, which is really spectacular. Now, what's the idea? White just wants to capture the queen, which has no squares to run away. And how about black just capturing the knight? Well, king takes is probably too optimistic, because after queen takes d5, that should lead to a quick checkmate, and otherwise, black can't capture it with the pawn, as in this case, the pawn is pinned, and black would lose the queen anyway, plus this knight is attacked, and white is winning the game. Now you know all the most effective chess tactical motifs, and if you want to know how to punish opponent's weaknesses, which will really help you to find and identify those tactics in your games, check out this video.